Okay guys, let's have a little talk about this World League thing that's going on. It's really put the cat amongst the pigeons in the rugby world. It's all over the news. And initially, was it released by World Rugby, or was it a leak that got out to, I think, the New Zealand Herald, saying that there are talks and ideas of having a World League with 12 nations. And on the face of it, it sounds a good idea. I mean, rugby's kind of stuck in the past a little bit. It organises its fixtures historically, people making arrangements with other organisations for a summer tour, or they get their autumn fixture list together, and you never really know where teams are at because it's a little bit random who plays who, a bit of an old boys club really. So they're saying, well, let's have a bit of a league, let's all play each other on a rotation and actually work out who the best is, rather than relying on some random fixtures and then a bit of an algorithm to make a world ranking. So it sounds good in that respect, and it sounds very appealing, this is the key thing, to broadcasters and investors. To guarantee all the best teams will play each other in a year, you can have the broadcast rights, you can invest. Sounds good, and clearly investors like that idea. However, there are lots of problems to it, and the uproar mainly was, or partly was, because it was a locked 12. They bolted on Japan and USA. Why did they choose those two? Money. The market in Japan and USA is much bigger potentially than the other places, say like Fiji or Georgia. If you invested in the USA, you see what they've done with their Sevens program, you could make a lot of money. They've got a professional league going, and the investors want certainty. That's why they say lock it in for 10, 12 years, so they can have certainty and build up their product. What may well happen is that USA, if there was promotion relegation, be relegated straight away, and the investors would then lose interest in the USA or the whole product in itself. So that's why they're pushing, the investors are pushing for a locked 12, and why they're pushing for Japan and the USA. So financially that makes sense, but World Rugby are there to serve the world, the whole world rugby population and all the nations, and that's the problem. To say to Fiji, you're not allowed into this, even though you're probably as good as the USA if you have your proper training and camps, that's a real big blow. So there's been a huge furore over it. I've got no answers. I'm kind of asking you guys, what do you think? How would you solve this problem? Augustin Pichot said he wants a 12 and 12 with promotion and relegation. That would be cool. That would be great. And then you could really see who the best teams were, and you could get promoted through merit, and the investment would be much more shared. But of course, financial people don't like that, because that's uncertainty. If you want to invest in a country or in the TV rights for a country and then they could go, that's not good. So what was weird is World Rugby said they were pushing for this promotion and relegation, but they're in charge. They can say what it's going to be, and then the financial companies, the TV companies, have to say, okay, this is our offer then based on that. So really, they're going to have to decide what do they think is more important. Making more money, which you could argue is a good thing, which they could then use to invest where they see fit, or say, we're going to take less money for a less viable financial option, but that's better for everyone in the world, that is fairer. And I think that's where they need to go. So comment below, how do you think they're going to do this? What's the best way to do it? Should they do it at all? Should we just stick with how it is? But the money there is big potentially. I've heard numbers like 7 million a year for sides like USA, Japan, Fiji, if they are in it. That could be huge. That could change the nation. That could change the course of their rugby development. So there's big stakes here, big things up for grabs. And then to put on top of that, you've got the player welfare issue. And we've had big players come out, Owen Farrell, Reed, other players, Sexton, come out and say, we need to think about player welfare here. When are these matches going to be played? Are they back-to-back? If it's a World League, then the pressure to play the best players more is going to be higher than ever. So, you know, what rules are we going to have on player welfare? How can we coordinate the world calendar so it's a fair spread of games with rest involved? So it's huge, just huge questions going on. And then to chuck in the mix, I mean, if you're having a World League every 2 years and then you don't do it for the World Cup, fine, but then the World Cup essentially is the World League but in knockout format. I'm sure it would still happen, but does that take the edge off the World Cup if you kind of know in a fairer way who the best team in the world is? It's like a league and a cup competition globally, fine, but do you want to leave that magic for the World Cup? I don't know. And then you've got the British and Irish Lions. Blimey, if they're going to keep the World League going during that, which they will have to, then that means that the teams involved in the British and Irish Lions tour are going to have weaker teams in a lot of the World League. And what does that mean? Does that mean a big team might actually get relegated potentially? Or does that mean it gives a skewed view of the world in that year? So it's a mess. It really is a mess. I think they've called a meeting to actually thrash this all through, but really it should have been kept under wraps for a lot longer until they had a much better idea of what to do. Anyway, loads up to play for, potential benefit there, but also potential pitfall. Could decide how the world game goes. Anyway, it's such a big issue, I wanted to get a video on it, and I want to hear your guys' views on what should be done. You guys are so good on your comments. If you have commented before, you know we don't allow any abuse or anything like that on the channel, so it's a very safe place to comment, and I'd just love to know what you think. Anyway guys, until next time, I will see you then.